Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we've got Danny King here for our annual Over-Unders podcast, which is the first podcast we do coming out of the 4th of July week. And it just means, we are right around the corner for training camp. I mean, it is 2 weeks away from today when you're listening to this. I mean, we are putting out Camp Battles polls, tweets and Instagram posts. Arch Stapleton's doing his, 12 most important players. We're there. We are there. We're going to record PPPs next week. It hit me today because I got a bunch of stuff done for the supplemental draft, this podcast. So let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. And I love this pod, Bobby Skinner, because this is let's have some takes about the New York Football Giants, what they're going to do this year, and say it with your chest. We're going to talk about, hey, this is what we think is actually going to happen. Danny King is joining us, and also a story in the background. No, not the supplemental draft. Happy Saquon Barkley week to all those who celebrate.
Yeah, we got 3 more podcasts after this. We're going to do a mailbag, Saquon, and then we are going to have a Saquon, next Tuesday, we will have closure on Saquon Barkley. Is he playing on the franchise tag, or does he get a contract done? So we will have all of that. So hope you're around with us for that. And if you want to be there with us, you can be there with some special people. We got Preston Holyfield. He's Evander Holyfield's brother. By the way, and I won't give that away, but the street, I think his dad was, they named the street after his dad or something. Richard Levine. Old Dick Levine. Dick on Levine. V.A. Houtunen, my guy. And Derek H. Wood. And when I say H. Wood, it's literally H-Wood. Maybe it's Hood. I'm in the hood. Justin, who are these people?
Speaking of dicks on vines, that's what Danny King does every Saturday. And Danny King, where do these people go?
They go to patreon.com/talkinggiants because for $2 a month, which mind-boggling deal right there, they get fantastic content. Live streams of the pod before everyone else sees it. You get post-game reactions in season. You're going to be seeing a whole lot of wins on post-game reactions this year, especially those 2 a.m. ones. They're going to be fire. I would subscribe. If you aren't subscribed, what are you doing? Do it right now. Patreon.com/talkinggiants.
So let's get in first. Some news. Anthony Blevins, the Giants special team assistant, very well respected within the building.
Well respected.
Good coach, better man. I think one of the reporters tweeted out today. He's joining.
Is that really what they said?
I think so. Did Jordan? Danny, look that up. Did Jordan Renan tweet that about what
Please
was the
tell me
phrase?
Jordan
I got you.
He's joining USFL. So as a head coach, by the way, whatever. The USFL, big jump for him. So that's exciting for him. Congrats to him. And I'm going to do this at the end. But the supplementary NFL draft is today. When you're listening to this on Tuesday, I'm going to give you a preview. I did evaluations on the 2 players. I'm going to explain what it is, all that good stuff. But we're going to get into these over-unders. What did Jordan say, Danny?
Jordan hasn't tweeted anything in a while.
I don't think Jordan tweeted that.
I don't think it was Jordan.
You guys suck.
Oh, wait.
He is a Thomas McGahee stan, though, so that wouldn't surprise me if he did say it. I think that would come from somebody else, not Jordan.
I feel like I know who it was, but I don't want to say a name and then just.
I would think about texting Jordan. If Jordan said
it was good man plus coach.
Oh,
I got to do everything my damn self, Danny King. Very well respected. All right, let's get into these over-unders.
Well respected.
And surprisingly, last year, for as much as the Giants exceeded expectations, most of the overs didn't hit on the things we did.
We didn't exceed. They didn't exceed them in the way that we originally thought that they would.
Well, you want to know why that they didn't? It was because we thought this offense was going to be what they tried to be at first, which was, hey, it's going to have mistakes, but they're going to push this ball downfield and try and create explosives. And that's what they tried to do in training camp. They tried to do that the first week or 2 of the season, and then they changed according to their personnel. We also had hopes for Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay at that time, so a lot changed from this time last year before week 1 to 3 in the season. So a lot of the stuff just didn't hit, and we even accounted for injury last year where we did some yards per game stuff instead of totals because injuries. the worst thing, the most annoying thing to do on the over-unders podcast is be like, yeah, I think this guy could do this, but he's going to miss 3 games, even though we do have a couple total ones. So, the first one we're going to do is Daniel Jones, total touchdown. So, passing and rushing. And we're going to do 26.5. Last year, he had 22. The 2 years before, at 12 and 12, and then his rookie year in 12 games, he had 26, so he wouldn't have hit the over in that. Last year played a full healthy season, but again, the touchdown numbers were the thing really lacking from his stats, and that comes from explosive plays. And I'm going to go under on this because just because it's been 4 years and we haven't gotten the over on this, and I said I'm doing what I hated a second ago. This is a season total, not a yards per game stat. Daniel Jones did miss time every single year until this past season, so it's not like he's, Eli Manning, Mr. Iron Man now. And he, we almost thought we weren't going to get him for that Packers game after he got hurt versus Chicago. So this is very doable for Daniel Jones. But just going on this, and we are looking at this from bettors fans and not a betting point of view and not fans. If he hasn't done it once in 4 years, the safe bet is to say under.
So he had 22 total last year, right?
Yes.
I'm even just saying this hypothetically, and this is really maybe wishful thinking. He could have gotten 26 last year. He played 82% of the Chicago game. So let's just say he leads a drive against Chicago, and then he scores a touchdown, whether it be a rushing or a passing touchdown. And also, you got to remember, he did miss the final week of the season against the Eagles. So he played 16 games, and then one of them he only played 82% of the snaps in. So he could have gotten even close to 26 last year. I don't think he gets 27, but I think he gets close to 26.
Here's the thing. I think he's going to have a lot, even if he doesn't hit the passing numbers, but he had 7 rushing touchdowns. That's a lot for a single season. And rushing touchdowns are, the years before it was, 2, 1, and 2. And he went like 16 games. He went like a year and a half, year and a month without even getting, he had 2 in that first game versus the Bucs. He didn't have another one until week 10 of 2020. Obviously there's more part of that, but I think he's going to have around 22, 23 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing, which puts him right at that 26.
No, but I will say, I feel a lot more comfortable comparing Daniel Jones to Josh Allen as a rusher rather than as a passer, so that's what I'm doing here. Josh Allen consistently has 8, 9, he's creeping up consistently double-digit rushing touchdowns every single year, and I inevitably think for how often Daniel Jones and how the freedom that this coaching staff gave Daniel Jones last year to kind of tuck it and run, I think that's going to continue in the red zone, and then also you have the design stuff that's there too. So, Danny King, since we're talking so much, why don't you give what are you thinking, over or under?
I am going under as well. Bobby's one point did hit the whole he hasn't done it in 4 years. I'm also of the mindset that obviously Daniel Jones was healthy all year last year. That was the first year he's been healthy. Can he do that again? I don't know, because Daniel Jones still likes to take risks when he really shouldn't. So I'm still bullish on that. His running ability is what, in a way, I hate to say this, I'm also kind of still bullish on this offense. I can't say Kafka was good at times last year, but he also wasn't good at times last year. So I'm not sure how much will Daniel Jones be really scoring many passing touchdowns. I don't know. Like you said, he likes to use his legs, and the Giants like to use that in kind of towards the red zone type of deal, because that's where Daniel Jones fried. The defense is just almost forgot he can run, and maybe defenses will prepare for him more this year.
And we also still have Saquon Barkley on the team, who's going to get a lot of short yardage rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, because I also don't see it.
They were top of the league of rushing touchdowns last year, and it wasn't Saquon Barkley 56 yards. They were all within the 15. So you're going to get, Saquon's going to have those 16, 17 yarders, and then the 2, 3 yarders where they're just going to hand it to him. And maybe you get one less 1 yard QB sneak, and you don't play the Chicago Bears, who are the dumbest defense ever, who just keeps falling for the bootleg shit, and there's 3, 4 rushing touchdowns taken off the board.
I didn't officially say it, but I am going over. If my analysis didn't lead it there, I inevitably think this team is just going to score more. And I think Daniel Jones was already pretty close, especially when you consider he missed the final game of the season. So even if the Eagles blow us out again in week 18, right? If Daniel Jones scores one touchdown or 2 touchdowns and maybe 1 in garbage time, right? That's 24 touchdowns in a 17-game season, and there was 1 game where he missed 18% of the snaps. Yes, you have to account for injury, and I know I'm not doing that right now, but I think this offense is going to score more. I think they're going to be closer to top 10 than the average point that they were at last year. So give me over passing touchdowns, or give me over total touchdowns for Daniel Jones, 26.5.
All right, Justin goes over. All right, next is Daniel Jones passing yards per game. We're putting that at 225 passing yards per game. Last year, he was at his career low at 200 passing yards per game. The year before, 220, 210 in 2020, and then 2019, he was way over. He had 250 passing yards per game in games that he started. This is the one I am going over, though, and I feel pretty confident about it. I mean, he had 220 passing yards per game in year 2 of Jason Garrett's offense, only 5 yards off from that. We know how bad his offense was. And that was missing Andrew Thomas for a chunk of that season. If Evan Neal can improve, it creates a lot more explosive. And again, you just have more stability as far as weapons around him. You know, you add Waller, who is, again, the biggest advantage that he's ever had in his career is Darren Waller. You know, you have depth at wide receiver, with, Matt Paris Campbell, Wan'Dale Robinson, Shep is, Jamison Crowder and Colin Johnson could get cut from this team. Those guys would have been starting week 1 for them last year, most likely. So this is one where I do feel good of going over. And I think they're going to get a bit more urgency in the passing game this year, too.
Yeah, I'm going to go over, too. Now, I started this saying I'm going to go under, because I started looking at stats that are indicating, and, we kind of know this too, just by watching the NFL, and the Giants were part of this too, where the NFL is heading towards running the ball a little bit more. Like, rushing attempts are going up and passing attempts are going down a little bit. And, I think this kind of exemplifies it. 23 QBs in 2020 were over 225 yards per game. 26 QBs in 2019 were over 225 passing yards per game. Daniel Jones was one of those QBs in 2019. 16 QBs in 2021 and 16 QBs in 2022 were over 225 passing yards per game. So I looked at that and I was like, well, I think I'm going to go under, because that's just kind of natural. I don't think, and I don't want this Giants offense to just be getting 300, 280, 270 passing yards per game. That most likely means for this Giants offense that they're playing from behind, and I don't want that. So what I did, even from last year, I wondered. So if we take out the Chicago game, Jones had 71 passing yards. If we take out the Chicago game, what does his yards per game look like? If you take out the Chicago game, Jones had 209 yards per game in 2022. He had 200.3 in 2022 when you include the Chicago game. So it increases at about 9 yards. Okay, so it does make somewhat of a difference, but not enough difference to get close to 225. What I think this is going to come down to, guys, is not the pass attempts. Not how much do the pass attempts increase, but how much do you think the average depth of target and the yards per completion will increase? That really is the answer to this question. So Jones last year was 28th in yards per completion. Let's just say he was average last year at 11. So it was 10.1 yards per completion. Average last year was 11. That's like QBs like Dak or were at 11 last year. That would have been 218 yards per game, even including the Chicago game. And if you take out the completions from the Chicago game, he's at 226.6. I am going over. I hope that this offense is more balanced this year. I hope that the average depth of target is balanced, because that's really what I think is going to come down to this being over or under. So I'm going to go 225 passing yards per game. I'm going to go over for that reason. Bobby, you're muted.
I think, like I said, I think it's going to be right around that bubble. Like, I don't want it to be 2019 where he was 250 passing yards per game.
No, you're behind when you're doing that.
Yeah. And again, we're going to hopefully create more explosives, but I don't think it's going to be just, hey, 7-step drop, 7-step drop, 7-step drop type of stuff. But again, Waller creates more explosives in the passing game, where Saquon didn't, like, Saquon was your only explosive player last year. It's late into, but Saquon didn't add any explosives in the receiving game. So now you add Waller. You got a slot guy who can create some stuff with there. Yeah, add Jalin Hyatt. He could be good for a couple extra plays, and I just think he's going to get over on this. Danny,
Could you look at obviously when it was first year under Garrett, numbers went down. Second year under Garrett, numbers went up. New offensive system, numbers weren't that high. Is it going to bounce back again this year? I think it will. I think he will go over on this one, because you look at it last year when the Giants wanted to pass the ball, they passed the ball with relative ease. Like obviously that Minnesota game, I know they lost, but Daniel Jones had 301 pass, and that's not 335 pass yards. I was looking at the playoff game. He had 200 yards against Jacksonville, 341 against Detroit. So when the Giants need to pass the ball, they can. Obviously, in some of those situations, they were losing, and that affects it. I'd rather them run the ball because maybe that means they're winning. But I think Kafka's going to try and use the passing game more to his liking, because like it was kind of, they didn't really use it well last year, in my opinion. They had some good games, they had some bad games, and they tried to use Saquon more. And I think they're going to try and balance this offense out a lot more this year, and not rely as heavily on Saquon and run him into the ground.
I think it really does come down to, not just like a Kafka thing, not a Dable thing, not necessarily a game plan thing. It also does come down to, can Daniel Jones reverse the Jason Garrett curse? And it's the same thing that kind of Ben McAdoo put Eli through towards the end of his career, of not check down, but dude, stretch the field. Let's get some hair back on our balls, man. Let's throw the ball. And now we got the horses. We got Waller. We got, Slayton, who's not going to be relying on as the number one weapon. Paris Campbell's coming in here, looking to do some fun stuff. Hodgins, can you be a contested catch guy? So that's really the main thing, is if the average depth of target can stretch, and if Jones can kind of change the mentality, and if the coaches can allow him to change that mentality, that's like the biggest determining factor in this. Would you agree, Bobby?
Yeah, I think the determiner of this is what they're doing offensively. Like, what's the philosophy? It's not like how they're gonna, and it's not, like you said, not about pass attempts, but what is their philosophy as an offense? Because right. You can find those yards pretty quick, and I think there'll be some. I mean, they were very run heavy last year, very run heavy, and I think they're going to be run heavy this year, but maybe not as much. So, right. What did you say, Danny?
I said what I said. I said over.
We all went over.
Over. Everyone knows. I gotta play it. I think I do that song every year for the intro. You'll know by now. Next, Saquon, 75 rushing yards per game. Last year was 82. The year before, 45, 2020, the number doesn't even matter, and then 77 and 81. So he's done it 3 out of 4 years. Where are you going on this one, Justin?
Yeah, so career best yards per game for Saquon Barkley. Like we said, congratulations to him. Barely beat out the 2018 of 81.7. I think I said the same thing last year, and I used the same reasoning, but I was wrong. I went under last year, and I'm going under again this year. And a lot of it has to do with the teams on our schedule, along with the philosophy and what I think the Giants offense, what I think they want to accomplish this year. But let's look at this, kind of the schedule this year. Out of the top 10 teams in defensive rushing DVOA last year, the Giants play those teams in 9 games this year. That's over half. So they have a very kind of tough schedule, kind of sledding ahead with some tough defenses. But also like a relatively like a lot of tough rushing defenses too. And I think if you're a team that's playing a tough defense, like the Eagles last year, we were talking about how, I think they're susceptible on the ground, but they're still like an average run defense. Odds are you're going to have to throw the ball against those teams, because you need to just produce big plays. You need to try and keep the chains moving, and you're not going to be able to sustain long drives against good defenses. So I'm going to go under for Saquon Barkley. And also last year, I was looking at his game log today. If you were to tell me that Saquon Barkley had 4 games with 100 rushing yards last year, I think I would be pretty surprised. Like, I thought, I would think if you were to quiz Giants fans, they would at least say it like 5 or 6. So I'm going under.
Let's do the quiz right now. It's the Titans. He did that.
Yeah.
The Bears, he did that.
Mm-hmm.
The Texans, he did that. Unfortunately, that Texans game plan. And it's neither one of the Commanders games. Neither the Eagles. Neither the Cowboys.
Oh,
I can't figure out. Was it? No, it wasn't the Ravens, was it? It was.
No, it was not the Ravens.
It wasn't the Packers either.
No.
The Jaguars. The Jaguars.
Yeah,
The Jaguars.
Correct.
That's a Giants podcast right there.
The Jags game was like just Daniel Jones' sake. Like, it was like that was a fun game. I was there. That's why they played so well.
Yeah.
So Justin's going under. I'm going over, and I've went under on the Saquon rushing the last couple of years. Was wrong last year, right the year before. I'm going to keep it a little bit simple. He's done it 3 times in 4 real seasons. And the one season he didn't was like when he just looked like one of the worst running backs in the NFL coming off of the injury. And that's behind bad offensive lines. And in 2019, he had some stinkers in there, So I think even as this offense gets a little more, more respectable as a passing offense, maybe not blowing teams away passing, but just, hey, you got to respect more guys out there. Like the second fastest player isn't going to be Richie James. You're going to have Slayton, Waller, Campbell, and Hyatt out there for a line. Just more respect. That I think it's going to create more explosives for Saquon, and not have to be 4th in the NFL in carries like he was last season. So I think he's going to have a little more yards per carry. If you put him at the 10th total of carries last year, he would have been at 68 with the yards per carry. But I think he's going to still get a decent amount of carries, and I think there's going to be some more explosives that boost the yards per carry up a bit. And we maybe don't have the stinker of games that he had last year as many. So I'm going to go over. I mean, he's done it 3 times in 4 seasons.
And Danny, before you go, I do want to point out his final 7 games. He crossed the 75-yard marker twice, but now we know, like with Saquon Barkley, we know that his month of September and his month of December's are really good. Like, it's so crazy how every single year of his career, both of those months are really good, and then in the middle, he's either missing games or he's really bad. So I kind of think it's going to be, the tendencies of the Giants offense. And then also, like Bobby said, his efficiency and how often they're choosing to use him in the month of September and in the month of December. And then how often they're choosing to use him, maybe when he's not efficient, like in those October and November months where historically every single year of his career that he's been healthy, he has not really been good in those months. Danny King.
Danny.
I was looking at his stats. I found this quite funny. In 2018, he played 16 games. 2019, he played in 13. 2021, he played in 13. 2022, he played in 16. So,
wow.
13 game season inbound for Saquon Barkley.
Lock.
Book it. I am also going over because he's not injured. He's not injured. And Saquon will have those stinker of a games. That's just a given. We saw it last year where he looks like he just can't do anything. And there's other games where he's just running all over teams like it's a Pee-wee football team. It's as simple as that. Saquon's a good running back. Pay the man. That's just my thoughts on Saquon. And it's a contract year possibly. If he's on the 1-year deal, he's just going to increase his price tag even more.
Yeah, that should be the narrative for Saquon every year. Contract year. Just keep tagging him. Contract year going to be a big year for Saquon.
I do believe in that, by the way. Little side tangent. Now that I've done this for a few years, I used to be like, oh no, they're all trying their best every single year. Contract year means a little bit more. So if Saquon's like on a contract year, I may kind of like, I'm not going to change my official answer, but I would like, yeah, he's probably going to get over 75 yards. Do you think that's a thing, Bobby? Like contract year, like their guys are going to show up?
Absolutely. Now with Saquon, I don't think it makes much of a difference besides maybe playing through
a little bit
banged up. I think contract year, he's gonna maybe put that shoulder through someone where if he's got a contract, hey, I'm not gonna hit this hole as hard on 3rd down or on 2nd down in the 3rd quarter down by 2 touchdowns or something. But it's not about in season because we know and that's the thing is where Saquon, it doesn't change his off season. It's the off season for guys. Where contract year for guys, like I'm gonna spend a little more time in the offseason getting ready. So it's not really about in-game stuff. it's more about preparation for the season. But we know Saquon preps.
Like, is Saquon squatting 400 pounds if he has a contract already? Who knows?
Dude,
Who knows? I just
maybe he shouldn't.
My bad.
People were like, "How could you guys critique Saquon Barkley?" It's like, it's not like, obviously he's strong as shit. Like, no one's denying. I don't think maxing out on a squat as an NFL player is smart. I don't think there's any point to it besides making a cool ass video.
Yeah.
All right, rookie. We always try and do some stuff on the rookies. Jalin Hyatt, 400 yards this year, over under. Danny King.
I'm gonna go. You know what? No, I'm gonna go over because there's going to be injuries at the wide receiver position. That's just a guarantee in life. I hate to say it. Can Shepard stay healthy for a whole season? Probably not. I'm gonna be honest with you. He has not stayed for a whole season in a while, and he's still coming off some nasty injuries. Wan'Dale Robinson, what's he gonna be like coming off the torn ACL? Maybe he's not the same player that we saw flashes of last year. I think Jalin Hyatt could do it. If I'm being quite frank with you, he seems like a quality player, even though there's NFL scouts out there that apparently are now claiming he's not a good character guy because, that's what you do when you don't get someone you wanted in the draft. So I think Jalin Hyatt can eclipse 400 yards. I think he has that ability, and I think not right away. He's not going to get. It's going to be later on this season he makes his push for 400. He's not going to be starting right away. He'll probably get the bare minimum of reps for a few weeks. But I do think Jalin Hyatt does have the possibility of cracking 400 yards because you have to account for injuries with this Giants team. You just have to because they're just an injury-riddled team. It happens every single year. And I think Jalin Hyatt will have the opportunity to go back out there.
I think for going forward, I'm always going to be the under on the rookies. And I am going under with Jalin Hyatt. Only two guys on the Giants did it last year with Slayton and Richie James. At 15 yards per catch, which is really high, he would need 27 catches. I just think there's too many targets to go around on the team. Again, yes, injury does take place, but Slayton's not injury prone. Isaiah Hodgins isn't injury prone. And I think those are the guys that he's going to be mainly competing with reps for. I know he played, quote unquote slot at Tennessee, but I see him playing a little more on the outside in the NFL. So I'm just, with rookies, I'm going under. Justin.
Yeah, I'm going to go under 2. Two wide receivers got over 400 yards last year. Hodgins was at 351. He would have easily gotten over 400. He almost was around Darius Slayton's yards per game total. So if he plays 16 games, 17 games, then, he's up there with Darius Slayton with like 700 yards. So it would have been 3 wide receivers that would have gotten over 400. But I'm still going to go under for Hyatt. I think there's going to be some weeks, and I think we're going to see this with the Giants wide receivers this year. There's going to be some weeks where Hyatt's a part of the game plan, and I think there's going to be some weeks where Hyatt's not a part of the game plan. I don't necessarily think that's like a referendum on him. I think it's just going to be, hey, we want to roll out Paris Campbell in the slot and maybe Paris Campbell on the outside and maybe Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot one week. And then it'll be the conventional Hodgins, Campbell in the slot, and Slayton on the outside. So I think we're going to see some different looks, and it'll change week to week. And obviously injuries, may fix this a little bit, but I am going to go under.
What else are you going to do?
What else am I going to do? I'm going to consider, because the Giants season's coming up, I got to make sure that my mental health is taken care of, because the Giants can certainly give me some stress. I'm going to go to BetterHelp, and this show it is sponsored by BetterHelp. And sometimes in life we are forced with tough decisions, forks in the road, metaphorical forks. Imagine if there was a fork just sticking out of the road. Path forward isn't always clear. So whether if you're facing a tough decision around your career, relationships, if you can't find a relationship, hey, I'm married to the New York Football Giants. I got to fix maybe not finding a significant other. And I have to deal with some inner issues. I just gave some information about myself, and I may consider BetterHelp. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Hey, football, Saquon Barkley squatting, practice. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/TalkinGiants to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/TalkinGiants. You'll be glad you did. I just gave information about my intimacy issues.
You'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Danny, you like that ad read?
That was a solid ad read. And the transition.
Both of you have significant others, by the way.
No.
I'm married to the game.
Hey, I respect that. Gotta be married to the game. Married to the grind. You're married to L16. That's who you're married to.
You know what? That's a great. Oh, I'm actually married to snacks. If we're being
fair.
honest,
I'm married to hope that Darren Waller is going to be productive for the New York Giants. Darren Waller, 60 yards per game. Last year was 43, but the 3 years before that, he got it 60, 74, 71. There's been one receiver who's gotten more than 60 yards per game for Daniel Jones. Who was it?
Oh my God. Who was it?
I want Justin to say it.
Golden Tate.
Yeah, it's Golden Tate. It's Golden Tate. Thank God Daniel Jones had somebody. I'm going over, damn it. Like I am one. This does not include injuries, and I'm just like you know what? I am all in on Darren Waller. Like this guy's a freaking star. He is a star. He is amazing. Like he's again. We were excited for Kenny Golladay, and like rightfully so from his film before being on the Giants. Waller's just like on like 20 different like higher levels than Golladay ever was in Detroit. Like this guy's top of the league at his position. He just moves differently than other cats. I'm going over. Like I am believing in Darren Waller. I don't.
I love the hope, Bobby, and I love Darren Waller. I love the trade. He's going to contribute to the Giants. I'm bullish. I have to be because last time I'm not comparing the two, but I'm comparing the hype levels. We got Kenny Golladay. You got Snacks at a bar crying that the Giants finally got their Plaxico. And now we're all celebrating. The Giants got whoever you want to compare Darren Waller to, whether you want to say he's the next Mark Bavaro of the Giants, whether he's the next Jeremy Shockey. I'm going under. I am. I'm sorry.
Can I say something?
I want. Yeah, you can say something. I'll say my last thing.
I think that Kenny Golladay hype was bigger for Giants fans than Darren Waller hype.
That's fair. No, I think I could agree with that. I mean, I was literally outside, like hands on my head, like, oh my God, we have.
Well, we're scarred. We're scarred.
You remember those SpongeBob time cards? I was waiting for that man to sign here, only for him to break my heart.
That was part of it. It was like a 3-day process. Like me and Justin had like 10 tweets drafted. I had a whole film breakdown done. Like we were. That was part of it too.
But Giants fans are also very scarred.
We are. Too. We're a scarred fan base. But no, I think Darren Waller will contribute to the Giants greatly this year. I do. I just 60 yards per game. I want to see Daniel Jones actually utilize him. And that's like a dumb take. You're like, oh, well, you can't see it till the season.
But Waller's not a force it to guy. That's the thing that's the difference maker between me is Waller's not like a force feed guy. Waller's like, nah, this dude just gets open from the release.
I just want to see Daniel Jones utilize a weapon. I'm not saying force it to him, but I'm just saying I want to see him have the option. And until I see it, I'm going to go under. But I'm very excited for Darren Waller. And I think it's going to be a healthy year for Darren Waller. Let's go, Darren. Let's go, Ronnie Barnes.
This is the only one that I have something written down with no notes on it. And I really want to change my answer for what I have written down. I'm going to go over. I wrote down under.
Whoa.
This is what the over-under pod does to you. It's like, damn it.
I'm apprehensive. And Daniel Jones is not a perfect quarterback. We know that. So we need to talk about the ways in which he's not a perfect quarterback. And I am apprehensive on, like Danny said it perfectly. I need to see it. Because right now, it's too good to believe that it's bound to not go as right as it can because we're Giants fans and that's just what's happened the last couple of years. Shit has not gone fully according to plan. Even winning 9 games last year and winning a playoff game, the season didn't exactly go to plan, right? So I need to see it before I believe it. I need to see what the splits look like between his hand in the dirt and out wide. I think Darren Waller will be a much better and productive receiver with his hand in the dirt as a tight end than if he's being out wide, because I think if he's out wide, he's going to be used in more contested situations, and we know Daniel Jones possibly struggles in those contested situations. But he's a good route runner, and I think he can kind of survive out there with his hand not in the dirt and just lined up in the slot or out wide. So I need to see it.
So, but you're going over or under then?
I'm going over because I need to believe in something.
Fair. I don't hate it.
Adding a new twist to it this year. This isn't over under. This is just pick. Giants receiving touchdown leader, Danny.
Receiving touchdown leader. I think this may be unanimous across border. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Isaiah
I think this
Hodgins
can go a million different ways.
in 8 games, he matched our touchdown leader last
Ooh.
year with was it 4? I want to make sure
Richie James had 4, but he had a lot of
it was Richie
time.
James. Okay. Yeah. So but I am going Isaiah Hodgins. Maybe that's the most like basic take there is. But Daniel Jones liked Isaiah Hodgins in 8 games, enough to match Richie James. Now 4 touchdowns. But no, I think it's going to be Isaiah Hodgins. And if it's not Isaiah Hodgins, I'm going Isaiah Hodgins. But if it's not Isaiah Hodgins, I will say it's going to be Darren Waller.
Well, you're saying Isaiah Hodgins. Justin,
I am saying Isaiah Hodgins.
Who are you saying, Justin?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Hodgins too. Nick Ercolano, who does BDGE, Big Dogs Gotta Eat fantasy football stuff, he asked me, like, why isn't Isaiah Hodgins hyped up a little bit more from, like, a fantasy standpoint? And I went into it, but then also, like, I thought, it's like, well, I don't think Isaiah Hodgins' touchdown production was a fluke. Because if you look back at the touchdowns that he had, a lot of them were with kind of like improvising Daniel Jones running outside the pocket and Isaiah Hodgins just simply finding space. And I don't think that's a thing that changes year in and year out. It's not like Hodgins, had like maybe this freak play or whatever. I think Hodgins being a smart player, smart, tough, dependable player and getting open in the red zone, I don't think that's something that's going to change from 2022. I think it's going to sustain itself in 2023. I think he's going to be the most reliable red zone target for the Giants this year.
I think Hodgins is a good answer because Darren Waller is going to get a lot of attention in the red zone, and we know this coaching staff is going to know that. So they're going to, let's try and get these plays designed for other people while Waller craves that attention. The last 4 years, it's been Hodgins and James, Evan Ingram, Slayton and Shep, and then Slayton, who had 8 in 2019. But you know what? I am going to say Darren Waller. I think he's going to get some outside of red zone touchdowns, and he's going to get some touchdowns in the red zone. I think he'll get like 5. So I'm going to go Darren Waller.
Can I tell you a sleeper?
Let's hear it.
Jalin Hyatt?
No.
Slayton?
No. Paris Campbell. I think the way that you can utilize a slot receiver with picks and screens and quick little stuff. I mean, Richie James had 4 last year. So I know a lot of it was garbage time and things like that, but we're not taking into account with, who's going to lead the team at touchdowns. You're going to have garbage time stats. So I think Paris Campbell, who was an upgrade over Richie James, I think Paris Campbell could sneakily be in this conversation.
The sick-minded person I am, it's Shepard. No.
It's going to be it's one of those ones that's like, it's going to be interesting. Like, who knows? Like, who knows who's going to be the Giants receiving touchdown leader? All right, defense. Let's go a little quicker. We've been spending a lot of time on offense. Dexter Lawrence, 5.5 sacks. Had 7.5, 2.5, 4, and 2.5. Less of a snap count. I am going to go under. Now, I think he's going to get the same. I think he's going to be generating the same amount of pressure, quarterback hits, but I just don't think he's going to get the over on the sacks. Like you look at it like compared to like the top 5 defensive tackles last year, most of their sack numbers were higher than Dex's. And I think with less snap share this year, hopefully getting some more edge pressure. I just think Dex is probably like at 5 sacks, but it's still just as an impactful season as last season.
Danny, I'm looking something up. You go.
Over with Dexter. Why not? I know the snap share by that's a fair point, but I mean, I feel like he could do it. I see where with Dexter Lawrence can get 5.5 sacks. That seems like a completely reasonable number for me. If Dexter Lawrence is just running over dudes like he was last year, I don't see why not. And he's going to be productive. If he doesn't hit that number, I'm not going to be devastated. As long as Dexter Lawrence is that force, we need him to be in the middle of the line and anchor us. I'm down, but I think he could do it.
Chris Jones is a machine, by the way.
He's insane.
741 pass rush snaps. That clears everyone. You know who was 4th in the league in QB hits according to Pro Football Reference among the interior defensive linemen?
Who?
BJ Hill. Tied with Quinnen Williams and Leonard Williams. And JJ Watt.
We at one point had the sickest defensive tackle group. Like, we said it. I mean, because the Giants suck, people were like, no, they don't. I was like, we have the best defensive tackle group in the NFL with Leonard Williams, Dex, BJ Hill, Dalvin, BJ Hill, and Austin Johnson.
And BJ Hill was the guy on the outside looking in. You know,
our fifth defensive tackle and Austin Johnson
unreal.
got like $10 million a year, whatever it was.
Bring it back.
Crazy.
Bring them all back.
I'm gonna go over.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over. Dex led all interior defense linemen in the NFL last year with 26 QB hits via PFF. Pro Football Reference had him at 28. I have also made a philosophical change, by the way. I'm working on a video for JM Football where I watched a certain player every single snap of his season. I have to admit, Pro Football Reference and the way that they track QB hits, it is better than Pro Football Reference. Pressures, I still think they overestimate, but that's
Pro Football Focus or Reference.
Pro Football Focus tracks QB hits better than Pro Football Reference. I will still give the nod to. I didn't count pressures for this player, but I will still give the nod to pressures for Pro Football Reference because since I do think just looking at the pure number that Pro Football Focus does overestimate pressures, but QB hits PFF has it right. So sacks, look at Pro Football Reference. QB hits, look at PFF. Pressures, look at Pro Football Reference. Got it, get it, got it, good.
Write it down.
Dex led the league amongst interior defense alignment with 26 QB hits. The player in second was Chris Jones with 17, so he led it by a margin of 9 last year, which is pretty crazy. He was third in pass rush win rate behind Chris Jones and Aaron Donald last year. So I'm going over because I think the production that Dex gave, besides just getting the sacks, I think it will lead to more sacks, hopefully, this year. Now, here's the little pivot with Dex. I want him to, if Dex is going to take another step, it is going to be playing better in the division. 2 sacks versus divisional opponents last year, both of them versus Washington. 7 QB hits versus opponents we play this year. Out of the 26 that he had last year, 7 QB hits versus opponents we play this year. He had 6 in division last year. So 20 QB hits were coming in other games. Games in which Lawrence feasted the most was Houston, bad team. All Minnesota games, kind of a suspect offensive line. The Chicago game, they have a suspect line. The Colts game, that team's a disaster. From a numbers standpoint and a production standpoint, those are the games which Dex feasted the most. He did well versus Washington, especially the Sunday Night Football game. So I want to see Dex play better against better offensive lines. Huh?
Jason Kelce owned him.
That's like the next challenge for me for Dex.
Kayvon Thibodeaux, we're doing the same exact number as last year. 7.5 sacks. Are you going over or under, Justin?
I'm going under. And I'm going to hate this if he goes over. But I want to see it, man. 70th in pass rush win rate amongst edge rushers last year. The biggest thing for Kayvon is consistency and not disappearing. Like, that was the biggest thing last year. Now, I will say the injury earlier in the year last year, I think threw off the entire rhythm of his year. And I think that there's a chance that if that didn't happen, Kayvon possibly maybe gets close to 7 sacks last year. But according to PFF, Kayvon had 12 QB hits last year, 5 of them coming in one game on Thanksgiving versus the Cowboys. And after that game, he did not have a single multi-QB hit game. So I'm going to go under for Kayvon. I want to see it. I know it's there, and I know we can see it, but I'm still going to go under.
Yeah, me too. I mean, he had 4 last year. 2 of them were untouched. Matthew Judon, who's had 28 sacks the last 2 years for the Patriots, been awesome. With the Ravens and Wink Martindale, he had 6, 9.5, 7, 8, and 4. So it's not like he was, he could put up more numbers in a different system than what Wink was doing. I got to see Kayvon work the corner better. Not just working outside-inside moves. I want to see him work the corner. Like he did that strip sack versus Commanders. I want to see him work the corner more consistently. That's my goal for him. But I'm going to go under, partly just because, for a lot of the reasons you said, Justin, but also the scheme. Danny?
I think 7.5 is a number Kayvon can achieve in his 3rd year in the league.
Yes. Oh,
I don't think he could do it in the 2nd.
You teased me.
I did. Kayvon's going to go under here. Love Kayvon. He's going to be a game changer for us. I think if the number was closer to 4, I think that's a number he could easily achieve.
Kayvon is the guy I'm most excited for this year, though. I want to see what type of jump you make, right? You're the 5th, because we could have a star on our hands, right? Just a good player, a solid player that you're really appreciative of and you get a second, we could have a star on our hands, and I hope that's what we get from Kayvon. All right, team defense, 121 rushing yards per game. That's dead center of the NFL last year. Last year they were, fifth worst. Gave up 144 yards per game. I think the defensive tackle help of Ashawn Robinson and Nacho. You get Okereke. Maybe play a little bit better on the edge. Kayvon. The Ravens under Wink were 1st, 8th, and 5th. I'm going under. I'm going under because I know that the way teams ran on them made Wink Martindale's skin crawl. And I think they're going to put a lot of effort, not just in those additions of players, but schematically to stopping the run this year. So I'm going to go under. I think there's going to be a big improvement in the Giants' run defense this year.
Man, there's a part of me that's like, in a way, nervous for like any possible regression with this defense because they were good last year. But like, what if like they take a step back? There's a part of me that really does think that, but I'm also naive in a way that this defense is still very good. They still have a solid defensive line. They have a solid group of guys. Bobby mentioned all of the great Wink Martindale's stats, and Wink Martindale, he's gonna be coming off mad that he didn't get a head coaching job. This now his players doesn't affect obviously, but he's gonna want to go out there and prove that he got passed over. I'm gonna go under as well. I trust this Giants defensive unit to get the job done. They will ultimately, I believe, win us games again in 2023. And I think we just have a solid group of guys in the middle, on the edge. Linebackers, you can argue that's a different story. But I still think we can hold teams to that number.
I'm gonna go over. I think it's gonna be better, and I think it's gonna be close to average. But I still think it's going to be over. I think the linebackers and the lack of depth at linebacker specifically, I think that's going to kill us a little bit. We still had Dexter Lawrence O last year, playing a lot of snaps, a lot more snaps than they should, but teams were still able to run the ball at will. And I think it's going to be better this year, but it'll be slightly worse than average. So I am going to go over on this.
Am I reading the next ad?
Yeah, I would love that.
Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. They're our presenting sponsor. We love them. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. And you can't dispute that because that's a fact, Jack. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. They always want to make sure you are getting a good deal. So when you're on the app, look for the green dots. Green means red, or green does not mean red.
No, it does not.
Testing you, Danny King. Green means good. Red means bad. Also means speed up. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps, which is a total game changer. We just got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Click the link in the description to download the app. You will be glad you did. What's the breaking news?
Today, when people are listening to this, I'm going to a Shania Twain concert. Guess where I got my tickets?
SeatGeek.
Yeah, great guess.
I got Subway Series tickets on SeatGeek.
Oh, boo. Terrible event.
Great ticketing app, though.
Great ticketed app, though. Gave me a great deal.
Let's go quick. Team defense, 9.5 interceptions. They had 6 last season. 10 would still be bottom 9 in the NFL for interceptions. Yet I'm still going under. There's not interception guys on this team. Adore is not an interception guy. He has one in the last 2 years. Deonte Banks is not an interception guy.
Nope.
And McKinney didn't have any last year, even though I think he's going to get some this year. And then the other safety position is a huge question mark. So I'm going under on this. I think it's going to be at 9. So which will be 3 more than last year. I think that makes difference in games, but it's still going to be bad. Justin. Danny.
Oh, I was ready.
Oh, go for it, Justin.
Justin. I'm going over because
belief.
The last couple years, getting, what do we have it set at right now? Right? 9?
9.5.
9.5. 9 and 10 over the last couple years of the NFL is still like bottom of the barrel, like the final 4 or 5 teams in the National Football League. And Wink Martindale's defenses have been down there pretty consistently, but The line is you got to believe in something, and I inevitably think that this stat is going to change a little bit in the Giants' favor, so I'm going over.
I hope none of our secondary guys go on ATVs this year. Please, that's what I hope and believe in. It's going to be under. Like, I'm going based off Bobby's. They don't have really big interception guys. So I don't got the faith that they'll have 9.5 interceptions. I just don't.
With that, who is going to be the interception leader for the team? I'm going safe. Just McKinney, right? It's like, at least I know that guy's got it in him to get interceptions. We don't know who's going to start next to him at safety. Okereke. Oh, you know who would be second with me? Okereke.
He has 3 career interceptions. I just looked that up.
That's solid.
In those OTA reports, he was interception city out there. But I'm just going safe. I'm saying McKinney.
I'm going Dane Belton. I'm fully back in now. Now that Sean Morash uncracked the code that's why he was missing games because he was struggling with an injury in the middle of the year, I went from, why is this guy not playing? I'm really concerned about him, to, all right, I'm fully back in. Give me that one play that we saw him against Seattle where he like baited Geno Smith into throwing a ball on 3rd down, and he's going to jump routes and stuff. So Dane Belton all the way in.
Danny.
Julian Love and Dane Belton both had 2 last year. That was our
those
record.
were the leaders. McKinney the year before and Bradbury the year before that.
It's really bad.
That's really bad.
They
that's
just didn't pick off the ball.
That's like,
and Julian Love got his. I'm pretty sure one or both of them was like off a tip. No, one of them was off tip pass against Dallas.
Lamar Jackson would look like a weirdo that one play when they got.
Yeah, that was also a weird one too. Yeah,
electric play though. I'll add. There's a part of me that really just wants to say have fun with it and just go Deontay Banks because why not? I'm gonna go Deontay Banks. Let's have fun with it. Let's have fun with it because I genuinely don't know who it could be. It could be.
He's gonna get targeted because he's a rookie.
Let's go Deontay. Maybe we bring back the NYPD moniker. No, can we stop bringing that back? By the way, because like it never ends well the moment we bring that back.
And I'll tell you a low key, another underrated guy that maybe I would go with. Damn it, I should have went with him. I think if Cordell Flott is going to be in the slot, like the reports are indicating. Darnay Holmes, like the most contested catches that like a cornerback faced last year, this is just off of eye test, and also, the most catches that a cornerback allowed was Darnay Holmes in the slot, where it's like, dude, it's like against man coverage, we know that you're right there, but you're just so freaking small. Cordell Flott has the size advantage over most guys in the slot. He has the longer arms, so if guys are going to be trying contested, if offenses are going to be trying contested stuff again against our slot corner this year, which could be Cordell Flott, he can come down with a few interceptions. So that's my little theory too.
All right. So that's our over-unders. I wrote them all down for you, Justin. Before we go, supplemental draft is today on Tuesday. What the supplemental draft is it's a draft for, I'm going to make a little quick video, put this out Tuesday morning too. It's a draft for players who aren't eligible to play college football this year because they either were academically ineligible, they violated NCAA rules, or got kicked off the team, but they were draft eligible, but they just weren't in the draft. Last time someone was drafted in this was 2019, Jalen Thompson by the Cardinals. Maybe the best one in the past 10 years. You could argue Josh Gordon, but it's like, was Josh Gordon worth a second-round pick? Maybe. It's Josh Gordon, by the way. That guy averaged, I wrote it down, 117 yards per game in his second year. With Brian Hoare at quarterback. You know how amazing that is? Like, I don't think Odell even did that. And we talk about like the pace that Odell Beckham Jr. was on. Did Odell ever average 117 yards per game?
No, there's no way.
No way.
It was. He had over 1,600 yards and he missed 2 games.
Well, while you look for that, Bob,
yeah, Odell's most was 108.
Oh, yeah, found it.
Yeah.
Let's look at Randy Moss.
You remember when Sam Beal was called the next best thing out of that draft?
He's a nice little meme for us. Let's see. What did Randy Moss do? Randy Moss had 23 touchdowns in a year. Not even close. 102 yards per game was his best. Josh Gordon could have been one of the best wide receivers ever, and he was just an asshole.
He just could not stay off. It's technically legal now.
And he's bounced around on teams. Remember, he got traded to the Patriots, and he was on the Chiefs. I think he was on like the Titans practice squad last year.
Where is he now? Let's find out.
You do get some talented players in there. Sam Beal's obviously in there. Terrell Pryor in 2011, another guy who had 1,000 yards receiving for the Browns.
I loved him.
Haven't had some. There's 2 players in this draft, and I actually went and did evaluations on them. The one that's getting the more hype is the one I'm not hyped on. Milton Wright, the wide receiver out of Purdue. He had like horrible testing: 4.69 40, 7.8 3. Like he had a 1.36 relative athletic score. And again, both these guys are academically ineligible, which kind of tells me they're probably on the Giants' radar. But you know what? I figured I'd do it. Bigger body wide receiver who doesn't have NFL athleticism. Is a long strider, so if he gets some separation to start the rep, he can get open downfield, and he makes some tough contested catches. But no yak ability has changed the direction. He's like really trash. But he had 732 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2021 before missing this last year because of ineligibility. The guy who interests me, and I think would be worth a 6th, 7th round pick. I don't think Milton Wright will get drafted. I don't think either will get drafted. Malachi Wideman, wide receiver at Jackson State, so Deion Sanders' school. 6'4", 6'5", 190. I tried. There's a video on YouTube. I tried timing his 40 time. It looked like a 4.4, like somewhere in there. And at that size, in 2021, he had 12 touchdowns in 11 games on 540 yards. Played basketball at Jackson State too. He committed to Tennessee before transferring there. And I think he's got like solid speed for his size, and has a little wiggle and change of direction. I think he's someone that is worth a 6th, 7th round pick. The question though is smart, tough, dependable. Are you going to use a pick on that? A guy who's 2 years academically ineligible? I don't think so, but I figured I'd do the research on the guys, and supplemental draft is the ultimate like football nerd thing. So I'm like, I really take pride in. I mean, I actually do like every year. I like text the reporters. I'm like, is supplemental draft happening? And then when Dane Brugler tweeted out, I was so damn excited. So, and teams bid on it. So if
let's have a draft.
If you just go first round, no one bids on him. Second round, no. You know who the last first round pick in the supplemental draft was? Dave Brown, quarterback out of Duke for the Giants. So let's say the Giants bid a 5th round pick, and so do the Cardinals. The Cardinals will get that player because they had the higher draft picks. So it's not on TV. It's just a conference call, but I'm excited to be refreshing my phone on Tuesday. So we appreciate you guys. Danny, I think the next time you'll be on a pod will be preview pod week 1. So we'll see you then.
Whoa.
See you at camp. Justin, anything else?
Oh.
No. Appreciate everybody. We will see you on Friday.
See you on Friday. Until then, let's go Big Blue.